Welcome, brave souls, to Abandoned Cast, your gateway to the darkest mysteries. Join us as we explore the supernatural, the unexplained, and the downright terrifying. Grab your headphones, dim the lights, and brace for chilling tales that will haunt your dreams. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for your regular dose of spooky content. Now, crank up the volume, and let's dive into the abyss. Alcatraz, the Rock, is a place where time seemed to stand still, and hope was a rare feeling. My name is Sullivan, but most folks in this prison just called me Sully. I'd been here for a long time, long enough to see the darkest chapters of Alcatraz's history unfold before my eyes. You see, Alcatraz was a cold, unforgiving beast, a fortress of despair sitting in the heart of San Francisco Bay. Its towering walls loomed over the island like an impassable barrier, and its tiny cells, like coffins, held the criminals who dared to break the law. I arrived here in the late 30s, a young man filled with dreams of a future I could barely remember. Alcatraz had a way of stripping you of your past, of your identity, and of your hope. The architecture of the place was something straight out of a nightmare. High concrete walls, barbed wire, and steel doors that creaked with bitterness when they closed shut. One of the first horrors I witnessed was the Battle of Alcatraz that happened in 1946. Inmates got really desperate and tried to take over. It was a very noisy and chaotic situation. There was a strong smell of smoke, gunfire, and shouting. I was locked in my cell, powerless, as the rebellion raged on, but I could see flames burning inside the corridors. It was a battle of wills and survival, and in the end, it left a deep mark on Alcatraz's history. It felt like the prison itself rose up to protect its secrets. Years later, in 1962, came the mysterious escape of Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. The escape was a story that everyone talked about for years. These guys spent a lot of time planning their escape. They worked on it for months, or maybe even years, carefully making a hole in their cell walls, big enough to crawl through. The next day, guards figured out they were missing during the morning head count. When they checked the cells, they found secret paths the escapees had made. They'd managed to slip into a utility corridor behind their cells, which led to the roof. From there, they used a raft made from raincoats and glue. Some people thought they made it to the mainland, but many others believed that the strong currents in San Francisco Bay would have taken them. It's tough to survive those rough waters. I myself was sure that Morris and the Anglin brothers never made it across the bay, that they drowned in its cold, unforgiving depths. I actually happened to have an encounter with them before their disappearance. One evening, as I was pacing the corridor of D Block, I saw them pass by. Frank Morris, with his sharp features and intense eyes, locked gazes with me for a moment. "Keep your mouth shut," he growled in a low voice, hiding behind his back what seemed like rubber raincoats stolen from the prison shop. And then, in a blink of an eye, they were gone. I knew they were dangerous men, and their escape didn't sit right with me. It was as if the prison itself had helped them slip through its fingers, but I never suspected what would come next. Years passed, and Alcatraz continued to be my living hell. But one night, something changed. I was lying on my bunk, staring at the flickering light above, when a chill suddenly gripped the cell. It was so cold that it sent shivers down my spine instantly. I pulled my thin blanket tighter around me, but it did nothing to help me. It wasn't just the temperature that was chilling. The The air itself seemed to thicken with an unearthly presence. And then I saw them. There, at the foot of my bunk, stood Frank Morris and the Anglin brothers. Their faces were pale, their clothes drenched, as if pulled from the icy depths of the bay. Their eyes, hollow and filled with an empty void, bore into my soul. "You should have kept your mouth shut, Sully," Frank Morris whispered, his voice a ghostly echo. The Anglin brothers remained silent, their gazes fixed. I tried to explain that I had never revealed their plans, but no words could leave my mouth. They seemed trapped in my mind. My gaze could not be moved from the three figures until they vanished in thin air. That night was just the beginning. The spirits of Morris and the Anglin brothers, if that's what they were, haunted me relentlessly. Night after night, their ghosts would appear, as if the prison itself had given birth to their sad souls. It was as though they were bound to Alcatraz, trapped in an endless nightmare. I wasn't the only one who experienced these supernatural visits. The other inmates spoke in hushed tones about their own encounters with the haunting spirits. The guards too had their own stories, of doors that swung open inexplicably and scary laughter that echoed through the corridors at night. As the years went on, Alcatraz became a place of dread and whispers. The living and the dead stayed together in an eternal torment. The ghosts of the escapees were not alone. They were joined by countless other spirits, each with their own tales of suffering and pain. I often wondered if there was a way to set these restless souls free, to lead them to the peace they looked for so desperately. But Alcatraz offered no redemption and no salvation. And so, I remained a prisoner, trapped in a world where the past and the present were intertwined. The spirits of those who had suffered in the prison would forever linger, their tortured souls a proof to the darkness that held on to Alcatraz, like a shadow that could never be shaken. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, remember to keep your wits about you, because the world is a much stranger place than we often realize. If you have your own spine-tingling stories to share, don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. Remember to give us a thumbs up if you got your share of goosebumps. Subscribe to stay updated on all things spooky, and ring that notification bell for instant shivers down your spine. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and stay enchanted.